Cheating wife planned to marry her affair partner, but husband's calculated revenge shattered her. Being in the wrong place can lead to trouble. I didn't intend for this to happen. While waiting at a red light, a guy pulled up next to me. He signaled for me to lower my window. "You have a flat tire," he informed me. I thanked him and pulled into the Walmart parking lot on the right. When I got out, I saw a screw stuck in the tire tread. What next? I decided to go inside and get a can of that slimy stuff, causing air to slowly leak out. What's next? I decided to go inside and get a can of that slime stuff. When I came back, I removed the screw. Big mistake. Air started hissing out even faster. I quickly screwed it back in and got some air at the gas station nearby. I was only 15 miles from home and I planned to keep checking the tire. If it got too low, I'd use the can of slime. About 5 miles from home, I noticed the tire was getting really low. In the driver's side mirror. Low in the driver's side mirror. I stopped at a convenience store, but they didn't have any air. It was time to try the slime. I poured it in and some green goo came out. I guess they call it slime for a reason, but at least the hissing stopped. Just as I was about to get back in my car, I noticed a pickup truck pulling up. It was one of those huge ones with massive tires. The guy must have been compensating for something. I remembered I saw the truck before the door opened, and a tall blonde guy got out wearing cowboy boots and a huge belt buckle. I chuckled to myself, but it faded when I saw who got out of the passenger side. A beautiful woman with raven hair. I knew her instantly. It was Rachel, my wife of the last 18 years. What a shock. They parked off to the side. They never even noticed my car. It was a company car, one of those little imports, not very eye-catching. I guess they walked away. I guess they walked into the store holding hands, and she giggled at something he said. It felt like a punch in the gut. I couldn't breathe or move. I just stood there feeling stupid. Then it hit me where I had seen the guy before. He worked in the same place as Rachel. She managed. The big question was, what was Rachel doing with him? His name finally came to me, Jerry Garner. But why wasn't Rachel at work? I was determined to find out. I got back in the car and waited. When they came out of the store, he helped her into the car carrying cups of coffee. They drove off and I discreetly followed them. They ended up at our house and he parked in the garage. The garage door closed and I lost sight of them. I waited 30 minutes, but my anxiety about the tire kept me on edge. 2 hours later, the garage door opened again and they drove past me. I held up a file folder to hide my face, but I doubt they would have noticed me anyway. They were so involved with each other, and it was only 2:30. I had plenty of time. My first step was to go inside and investigate. I had to pick up Toby at 4 and I had no idea what to say to her. Toby was my 15-year-old daughter. I didn't know what I would find inside, but hopefully I would find some answers. Inside everything was quiet. Quiet. I could hear the drip of the faucet in Toby's bathroom, a reminder of a repair I needed to make. Otherwise, the only sound was the whisper of air coming from the vents. I looked around, but everything seemed normal. Upstairs, the bed was made with fresh sheets. My heart sank as I leaned against the wall. I looked up at Toby and saw that she was asleep, and I could see that she was awake. Heart sank. I leaned against the wall and slid down to the floor. I felt numb. There seemed to be only one explanation that made sense. I must have sat there for 30 minutes. My mind went in circles. I couldn't make sense of my thoughts. It felt like I was drugged. My stomach churned and I grabbed a Sprite to calm it down. Feeling sweaty and overheated, I returned to the bathroom. I rummaged through the vanity for a washcloth. I soaked it in the sink and splashed cold water on my face. After washing up, I felt a bit refreshed. Then I noticed something odd. The shower floor was wet. They had showered before going back to work. Stunned, I stumbled back into the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, realizing it was the same bed my wife and her lover had just left. The realization hit me like a ton of bread. It hit me like a ton of bread and I recoiled in horror. This was where it all happened. I didn't know what to do next. Of course, divorcing Rachel was a no-brainer, but beyond that I was clueless. I didn't know any lawyers. I had no idea about the legal process, and I still had to pick up Toby from school. Toby, what was I going to say to her? I dragged myself out to the car feeling like I had been on a 10-day bender. My head was pounding, and I looked terrible. I wasn't fit to drive. But I couldn't leave Toby waiting. It suddenly hit me. She was the only stable thing in my life. My daughter was my rock and I had to make sure she was okay. Whatever I decided to do, it had to be with her well-being in mind. She walked up to the car, a radiant beauty that tugged at my heartstrings. Toby inherited her mother's dark, almost Mediterranean complexion and hair, but her eyes were something else, deep brown with hints of gold and green streaks. Her mother's, the doctor called her Hazel, but they were truly unique. She was tall, she took after me, with long legs and a natural beauty. After throwing her backpack in the back, she jumped into the car and leaned in to give me a kiss, but stopped short. "Dad, what's wrong?" she asked, concern in her voice. "Are you okay? Did something happen?" "I'm fine, kitten," I assured her. "No one's hurt or sick, but I need to talk to you. Let's go to the park and I'll explain everything. Just let me hold you and we'll talk, okay?" "Wait to ask the question until we get there." "Sure, Dad, but you're scaring me," she admitted. "I know, kitten, but trust me, everything's going to be fine." It was only a short drive to the park. I'd pushed her on those swings countless times. Rachel and I had sat on the benches together watching her play. It was hard not to reminisce about happier times. Would that be it? All there was in my life from now on were memories of better days. We rolled over to a bench, hand in hand, swinging our arms the way we'd always done since she was little, just learning to walk. Sitting down, I struggled to find the right words. Just say it, Dad, she urged. I can take it. I'm not sure I can, I admitted, but then the words just poured out. I told her everything, the whole story, every emotion I was going through, tears streaming down my face. Through it all she held my hand, offering comfort. When I finally ran out of words she nestled close to me. Sounds rough, Dad, she said softly, we should go home and talk to Mom. Everything depends on what she says. On what she says. It seems bad, but there's still a lot we don't know. We have to listen to her. I planted a kiss on her head. I felt proud. My kid was braver than I ever was. She tugged my hand, signaling it was time to go. Want to drive? I offered. Her eyes lit up. She had just gotten her learner's permit. A shadow passed over her eyes as she hesitated. A shadow passed over her eyes as she hesitated. But it quickly faded as she cautiously drove home, and Rachel's car was in the garage. It was time to face the music. She greeted us at the door with hugs and kisses, acting like she had done nothing wrong. It was either the performance of a lifetime or I had completely misjudged the situation. You want to go out tonight? You guys want to go out tonight? She offered. It's on me. I think we need to talk to you, Mom, Toby said. Sure. Everything okay? She asked, looking worried. I'm not sure, Toby replied. Let's see. We walked in and I sat on the couch next to Toby, leaving Rachel in her favorite but ugly chair. What's going on? She inquired, showing no signs of concern. No worries. How's your day going? I asked. She gave me a puzzled look. Just the usual, she replied. Had lunch out of the onion bin, thanks to a pill rep. It was hectic as usual. Why do you ask? You were at the office all day, Toby asked. Sure, she replied. Why all the questions? What's going on? You weren't with Jerry Garner here at the house this afternoon? I questioned. Her face turned pale. No way, she insisted. Are you accusing me, Oliver? I saw you, I claimed. Or what? You didn't see anything, she started stammering. What your angle? You not lying, Toby. I was at work all day. You can check with Angel. No, I believe him, Mom, Toby interjected. I think you're lying. I'm not lying. I think you're lying. I won't ask Angel. She'll cover for you. I'll call David Jones. Hugh's your boss, right? I trust him. He won't cover for you. What's his number? Hugh's gone for the day, Rachel answered. I'll have him call you tomorrow. What's the matter with you two? Trying to trick me? You think you can come here and trip me up? What exactly are you accusing me of? Are you accusing me? She seemed to think a strong offense was her best defense. I think you got caught in your own lie. I said to her. You lied, Rachel. All three of us know. Why would you do that? I could see her thinking hard. Okay, I was here, she admitted. That's why I didn't want to tell you. I knew you'd grill me and try to pin something on me. Nobody's framing you, Toby made it clear, but I am now. You tried to make me think that Dad was a liar. You tried to make him look bad to cover up your lie. What are you hiding, Mom? Are you cheating on me with this guy you don't know? He looks at me, scares me, but that's not the point. Are you having an affair with him? Rachel glanced between us, looking trapped. I didn't want it to be like this, she confessed. I wasn't ready for what? Toby pressed. I fell in love with Jerry, she confessed, looking at me. I'm sorry, Oliver, it just happened. We worked closely together. Together, you know, he was just, I don't know, he feels like my other half. We clicked, and I couldn't stop it. We're in love. I was going to tell you when we were ready. As soon as we both get divorced, we're getting married. I'm so sorry. I didn't want you to find out like this. Toby, things will be okay. You'll still see your dad whenever Jerry comes home. Jerry's got a nice place on the lake. He's got a daughter too. You know he likes you and will be happy. Are you crazy? Toby practically screamed. I'm not living with that jerk. He could sneak into my room at night. I'll see Dad whenever I want because I'm moving in with him. You're the one I'm not going to see. How could you? She stormed up to her room and locked the door. Rachel looked at me. She calmed down. She said, Jerry's a good guy, Oliver. You'll see. I need to be happy. Jerry makes me happy, and that's that. I just stared at her. Who was she? It felt like she'd been replaced. I wasn't going to argue with someone so unstable. Whatever, Rachel, I replied. When are you leaving? Leaving? She asked, startled. I'm not. I have nowhere to go. Jerry's married and we have to tell his wife before we do anything. We all need divorces and to sort out the settlement. What are you talking about? You can't kick me out of my own house. If anybody should go, it should be you. I think you're forgetting something. I said this is my house. I owned it before we met. It was fully paid for and in my name before we even got married. My name is on the deed, not yours, so no, you're the one who's moving out of my house. Where am I going to go? She asked, are you just going to kick me out? I really don't care where I go, I replied. Maybe you could get a motel room? You could get a room at a motel, maybe one of those places you can rent by the hour, you know where cheaters go. Tears welled up in her eyes. That's really hurtful, Oliver, she said. There's no need for name-calling. I didn't plan to fall in love with Jerry, it just happened. we connected, and I felt I had to be with him. To be with him. I didn't mean to hurt you, so it was an accidental hurt, I retorted, like tripping and poking your eye out with a stick while running like Mom always warned me. I get it now. Well then I guess it's all okay since it was an accident. You don't have to be so sarcastic, she replied. Why can't you accept that Jerry and I are in love? Oliver, gee, I don't know, Rachel, I said sarcastically, maybe because this morning you told me you loved me, and now you say you love him. I'm just a little confused. I guess I still love you, Oliver, she said. I've always loved you. I'm just in love with Jerry now. With Jerry now? Well, that clears things up, I replied. You've been telling me you're in love with me for 18 years, Rachel. I thought that's why we got married. We were in love. Guess I was wrong. No, we were in love. She reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. You've got 3 days, Rachel. If you're not gone by then, I'm going to kill you. If you're not gone by then, I'm going to have the sheriff kick you out and throw your stuff in the driveway. Please, Oliver, she begged now, scared. It doesn't have to be like this. We can still be friends. Jerry wants to be your friend, too. We have Toby to consider. I love you and I don't want to lose you as a friend. As a friend, we've been together too long to just throw it away. I just stared at her. All the sadness and loss I felt was starting to fade, replaced by searing anger. You must be out of your mind, Rachel, I said. Be friends with you with that jerk? I don't think so. Tell him if he sees me it should be short, just before he runs away, and as for you, you are the enemy now. I will burn your house down. 3 days, then I never want to see your cheating self again. I will call a lawyer in the morning and you will get your divorce as soon as possible. I went into the bedroom and left her there making noise. It was just background talk to me. She followed me, still talking about being friends, while I moved her stuff into the spare bedroom. There were more clothes than I could carry, so I just piled them on top of her. I took an armful into the spare room and hung them up in the closet. She followed. She lingered behind me for a while, talking and watching me as she went to hang up the clothes. I took the opportunity to slip away and lock the bedroom door. I heard her in the hallway trying the knob, then she left after a few minutes. Toby texted me, "Are you okay, Dad?" "Yeah, kitten," I replied. "Not yet, but I will be," she said. "All right, love you." I texted back, "Text me if you need anything. Can you take me to school in the morning?" she asked. I don't want to go with her. Sure. I crawled into bed and lay there for hours trying to figure out what to do. I must have dozed off around 3 a.m., and then my phone alarm woke me up. I got up, showered and called my boss. I explained that I was getting a divorce and needed a few days off. He was understanding, told me to take all the time I needed, and expressed his sympathy. I made some coffee, had a couple of cups, and cooked breakfast for Toby and me. She came down right on schedule, looking as lovely as ever and devouring her breakfast. Rachel finally came in and grabbed a coffee. She tried to talk to us, but we ignored her. It was time to take Toby to school and Rachel asked if she was ready. Toby looked at Rachel, then turned to me and asked, "Are you ready, Dad?" I handed her the keys and she grabbed her backpack. "Sure, you can act like toddlers if you want to," Rachel remarked. She stormed off, grabbed her purse, gave us one last look, and left. I dropped Toby off at school and she kissed me before she went inside. I sat in the car and watched her disappear into the building. My mind drifted to my friend Dan, who had recently gone through a divorce. I decided to give him a call and ask him how he was doing. I decided to call him and ask about his lawyer. Dan didn't recommend his lawyer but suggested I use his wife's lawyer instead. He gave me the name and I found the number. When I called, a woman answered and scheduled me for that afternoon. I took steps to protect our finances, like lowering the credit card limits to $1,500. $500. It would tighten my style too, but I wasn't about to fund Rachel's affair. My meeting with Elizabeth Baxter didn't start well. She assumed I was leaving Rachel for someone else. "You got it wrong," I corrected her. "She was cheating with a coworker who is also married, and they plan to divorce their spouses and marry each other." "I'm sorry," she said. "I can't represent someone involved in that kind of situation. It goes against my principles." "I get it, I understand," I replied. "We have a daughter. I want to protect her from the fallout. Is there a chance I could get custody of her?" "It's possible," she acknowledged. "In theory both parents have a shot at custody, but in reality fathers, especially for girls, rarely get custody." "How old is she and does she want to live with you?" "She's 15 and she said she wants to be with me," I replied. "That's what counts in court," she reassured. "In our state kids over 14 can choose and younger ones' preferences matter too. Given her age and her desire to stay with you, it should work out in your favor. Just do your best," I said. Ending the conversation, I drove home thinking about my next steps. I knew I had to act within the law. Getting into trouble could cost me custody of Toby and I wasn't taking that risk. I had to plan carefully, consider every option and potential consequence. I suspected Jerry's wife was as unaware as I was, so the first step would be to inform her that I was going to be staying with her. And I decided to make a list outlining my strategy. I would definitely inform her family. Her parents had always loved me, and they adored Toby, so I knew it was crucial to let them know first, but I wasn't sure how to go about it. Making sure all our friends knew was also a priority, and I figured I could get enough attention on social media to shake things up, which was at the top of my to-do list. Rachel had a Facebook account for our family. I was familiar with it, used Messenger frequently, and knew my way around. After some online searching, I discovered that Jerry's wife had a similar online presence. Then I changed the password and logged out. It felt satisfying. I wondered how long it would be before her friends and family bombarded her phone and Facebook page. I hoped Jerry's wife would get the message. I didn't know her and I felt a twinge of guilt for the upheaval she was about to go through. I called Mom. The conversation didn't go as well as I expected, but beyond her initial shock, she assured me that she would tell Dad and that they would be there for me no matter what. We had a close relationship and I didn't want to be the cause of a family rift, plus I had no idea how to broach the subject with them. Somehow your daughter is cheating didn't seem like the right message. They might blame the messenger instead. The situation escalated quickly. Around 2 p.m. Rachel's name popped up on my phone screen. I picked it up and she was furious. "You idiot." Her first words gave me a strange sense of satisfaction. "You couldn't just leave it alone, could you? I know you locked me out of Facebook." "Remove that stuff. Jerry's wife is clueless. My friends won't stop calling asking what's up. Even my parents know all about her. I'm telling you, take it down." "Nope, you don't get to call the shots." I fired back. "What are you acting like a 5-year-old? Old. Take it down, Oliver. I'm telling you, take it down." "I'm serious. Why should I?" "I challenged you. You should be excited. This way everyone can get used to you and your soulmate." "Are you ashamed that people know you cheated on Rachel?" "I'm not." She stopped, noticing how ridiculous that sounded. "Oliver, please just take it down. This isn't how it's supposed to go. You lost any say in how things go? You lost any say in how things go the moment you cheated." I reminded her. "You forfeited any right to my respect or even basic courtesy. I've made it clear. You're the enemy now, Rachel. Deal with it." I hung up. My phone buzzed again immediately, but I ignored it. It was time to pick up Toby. I filled Toby in on my conversation with Elizabeth Baxter. While she was relieved that she would probably be with me, she wasn't pleased overall. "What's up with her, Dad?" she asked. "I care about her, but she's always been a little off. She never seemed like an adult, not like you anyway. She's never seemed like a grown-up, not like you anyway. It's like you have 2 kids, she and I. Have you ever noticed that?" "Not like that," I replied. "Now that you mention it, she's always been kind of impulsive, but that's just how she is. I never expected her to do something like this." "Well, we'll just have to deal with it the best we can," she said. "Dad." "Best we can," she said. "Dad, I never want to be alone in the same house with that creep without you there. Whatever it takes, make sure that doesn't happen." "Okay, I'll do everything I can," I assured her. We grabbed a pizza on the way home, and as I was enjoying my second slice, my phone buzzed. It was Bob, Rachel's dad. Bob, Rachel's dad. I wasn't looking forward to this. I told Toby who it was and she suggested Ed put it on speaker. Bob didn't waste any time. "Oliver, I'm not sure what's going on, but Rachel showed up here last night and asked if she could stay with us. Do you want to explain?" "Did you ask her?" "She mentioned that you kicked her out." "Well, I did, but did she explain why?" I replied no, she said she would later. He replied, "Are you sure you want to hear her side?" I inquired, "Can't you just tell me?" He pressed sure. I said she was having an affair with Jerry Garner, a coworker. She was planning on divorcing me and now they're together? "That's unbelievable, Oliver. How do you know?" "I caught them together yesterday." I said it, and she confirmed it. "Are you sure there's no misunderstanding?" "I was there when she told him 'I'm sorry Grandpa, I love you.'" Her voice broke and he heard it when she spoke again. His tone was strained. "Don't cry, sweetheart, please stay strong." "Okay Grandma, and I love you dearly. I'll try to talk to your mom, Oliver." "I'm sorry, Bob, don't worry about Toby, you're both her grandparents and that's never going to change. I know you care about Rachel and you'll do what you have to do. I have so much respect for you, more than I can say. Don't hold a grudge against me when this is all over. It won't happen." He assured me. "I'll get to the bottom of this. Call me if you need anything." It went better than I thought it would. Life throws curveballs and you just do your best to handle them. I won't get into the nitty-gritty of the divorce proceedings. Rachel seemed to have unrealistic expectations. She thought she would get custody of Toby, but that didn't happen. Miss Baxter proved to be as competent as they come. I was granted full custody, thanks to Toby's desire to live with me. After a private meeting with Toby, the judge ruled that Rachel could have visitation, but not unsupervised time with Toby. Unsupervised time with Toby and Jerry Garner, but that soon became irrelevant. His wife was divorcing him and it turned out their soul-mate connection wasn't as solid as they thought. 2 weeks after I discovered their affair, he was off chasing someone else. All those big plans vanished into thin air. It took 7 months for the divorce to be finalized. Rachel had a change of heart. I was surprised when she requested counseling during our second court appearance. Neither I nor Miss Baxter could influence her decision and the judge ordered it. We were scheduled for 8 to 10 sessions. We ended up with this weird old hippie guy in our first session. We had to lay out our goals. Rachel's was a long tangled mess. It seemed she believed the universe revolved around her happiness and that she didn't mean any harm, just wanted to be happy. Mine was much simpler. What is your goal for these sessions? Mr. Buren, he asked me. I just want them over with, Mr. Barron. Don't you want to address the issues that led to the end of your marriage? I'm sorry, Mr. Rodman, but those issues weren't mine and I have no interest in addressing them. I'm happy with who I am, flaws and all. Rachel and Mr. Guru seemed equally shocked by my answer. Rachel jumped in determinedly. Oliver, how can we move forward if you won't even talk about it? Let me be clear, I don't care about going back to the way things were or fixing anything. I'm only here because the court ordered it. Once that's done, we'll finalize our divorce. That's my plan. Do you realize that if I tell the judge that you're not cooperating, you could be held in contempt? Mr. Guru warned me. I wasn't aware of that. I replied, are you suggesting that you would lie to the judge? These sessions are being recorded. My lawyer could subpoena the recordings and expose your dishonesty. He looked embarrassed. The judge probably expected you to try to resolve your issues, he remarked. I'm not responsible for the judge's expectations. I clarified, I'm only responsible for mine. He made things difficult. He gave me homework which included spending a lot of time with Rachel, who tried hard to wear me down. What will it take for you to call off the divorce? For you to call off the divorce and work things out, she asked. An act of God, I replied. She waited for me to elaborate, but I remained silent. What do you mean by an act of God? She pressed. Well, unless you can turn back time and undo your affair with Jerry, nothing will change, I explained. I've never heard of anyone other than God having that power. Have you developed any hidden powers, Rachel, besides the power to attract other men with your charms? We endured. Your Honor, my client has no intention of remaining married to his wife, Elizabeth Baxter. We ask that this divorce be finalized quickly. My client and his daughter have endured this process long enough. It seems the judge agreed, because 10 days later the divorce decree arrived in the mail. Rachel occasionally made plans with Toby, but their relationship was not the same. Toby mostly hung out with her friends, especially one named Sabrina, who practically lived with us. Sabrina was sweet and kind, and I enjoyed having her around. We often spent Saturdays at nearby lakes during the summer vacation, and one Monday they asked if we could go to the lake for the weekend in our RV, and since I didn't have many plans, I thought it was a great idea. Toby and Sabrina spent the week planning, and we packed everything they needed on Thursday. On Friday afternoon, a new red Jeep Cherokee pulled into our driveway, and Sabrina got out. And Toby rushed to hug her. Toby introduced her to me. Dad, this is Julie, she's Sabrina's mom, and I know you haven't met her yet. Julie held out her hand. Hey, Oliver, the girls have been talking about you a lot. Thanks for inviting me over this weekend. To be honest, I was a little jealous. They get to spend so much time with you instead of me. She grinned mischievously. And I immediately understood why her daughter was so charming. When I glanced at Toby, she shot me a fierce look. My knees went weak and I knew it was time to give in. The weakness got worse when I looked at Sabs and she raised an eyebrow. It's going to be fun, I told Julie, finding my voice again. We always have a blast. She caught on quickly. She glanced between me and the girls, then back at me. Oh my God, she exclaimed. You didn't know, did you girls? Before she could say more she was engulfed in hugs, kisses, and please Mom, don't worry, we're going to have a. Sabrina reassured her. It's fine, Julie, Dad's going to like you as much as I do, and he's awesome. Toby chimed in. See how he's doing. She untangled herself from the girls and assessed them. You two go sit on the porch. I need to talk to Oliver, she instructed. They hesitated, but she insisted. Now they obeyed and hurried off. I'm really sorry, Oliver, I had no idea, she apologized. I'm taking Sabs and leaving. She's grounded for a month. This is so embarrassing. Embarrassing? She seemed small and embarrassed, so I stepped forward and hugged her. At first she tensed, but then relaxed. Yeah, it's embarrassing, I agreed. You're naughty but harmless. Let me guess, you're not married, she giggled, looking up at me. Man, she was adorable. No, I'm not. You think that's what this is about? I'm pretty sure, I replied. Here's the deal, you're all set. The weekend is cleared. The lake is going to be awesome. I'm not a bad guy. You've seen that with Toby around. Let's go with it. It'll be a blast, and who knows, we might surprise them a bit. What do you say? She stepped back, glanced at the girls eagerly waiting, and agreed. Yeah, let's do it. I gave them a thumbs up and they jumped up excitedly, rushing to join us. I heard Toby's enthusiastic yes as she came out. I stopped them, taking one girl under each arm. Ladies, not cool, I admonished. Sabs looked up at me, laughing in her best Skeletor impression. I'm not nice. We all went crazy and I couldn't keep a straight face. They were just too cute and innocent. You know what you're up to, I scolded gently. Cut it out, seriously, you can't go meddling in other people's lives. But I love Jules and I wanted you to meet her, Toby defended. Well, you could have just told me, I reasoned. She looked a bit dejected. It's okay, kitten, just don't pull that stunt again, I reassured her. Her face lit up again. Sabs tugged on my arm. Come on, let's go, I'm psyched. This is going to be awesome, Oliver. Just wait, Julie laughed. I think that means really cool, Oliver. But she's right, we're wasting daylight. We grabbed 2 bags from her Jeep and jumped in. We grabbed 2 bags out of her Jeep and hopped in the boat, hitched up, and after a quick stop for propane, we hit the road. It took about half an hour to get to the lake, with Julie sitting up front with me. The girls got some terrible music playing on their Bluetooth, and we started getting to know each other. I stole glances at her as we talked. Man, she was cute. I imagined Sabs would look like her mom when she got older, though she looked a lot younger. Julie was only 3 years younger than me. She was about 5 feet 7 inches with light blonde hair down to her lower back and a nice tan, her big brown eyes, high cheekbones, and a heart-shaped face with a widow's peak. Shaped face with a widow's peak and a broad forehead gave her a perfect look. She was wearing jeans and a button-up top that showed off her slender figure. I didn't want to give her away, so I waited until we reached the lake before really checking her out. We secured a spot to park the boat and RV. They kicked me out while they changed and I took care of hooking up the water. Once they were done, I went inside, changed into a pair of swim trunks and a t-shirt, and we were ready to go. We were good to go with a cooler full of drinks. We set off out of the no-wake zone. I picked up speed. We cruised a few miles down the lake and the girls were eager to ski. They took off their long t-shirts revealing their usual charming. I said she was slender, but she was really petite. She had a feminine figure, and when she turned to look at the girls I was mesmerized. Her bikini wasn't super trendy, but it struggled to cover a rear end that was impressive. It was small, round, firm, and stuck out like a shelf. When she caught me looking, she just smiled and whined. She had small breasts, but they looked just right on her. They didn't seem small, they looked perfect. They didn't look small, they looked perfect. Everything about her was like a tiny version of perfection. Finished, she asked, her smile fading the moment her teeth were perfect too. I chuckled. For now you know how you look, Julie. I'm a guy. She moved closer to me, finding a spot to chat while keeping an eye on the girls. We spent 3 hours water skiing and Julie was really skilled. She took the wheel of the boat when it was my turn, and she was good at that too. I wasn't as skilled as her or the girls. The physics just wasn't on my side. Even though the RV had a perfectly good stove, the girls wanted to cook outside, so we set up the camp stove and I started a fire in the grill on the site while I grilled bratwurst. They chopped fried potatoes and onions and opened cans of pork and beans. We had prepared some meals at home, but this was our first night and camp cooking always tastes great. We sat at the picnic table provided by the campground and felt like we had known each other forever. The girls kept mentioning that Jules wasn't married, so I finally asked her why. I mean, you're beautiful, funny, smart, and you have your own business. Why hasn't some guy swept you off your feet? She paused for a moment. Well, the main reason is Sabrina, she finally said. I was young and stupid, Ollie. I was a senior in college when I found out I was pregnant just a week before graduation. At the time I thought I had found the love of my life. We had talked about getting married right after graduation. I guess that plan didn't work out since you're talking about it in the past tense, I remarked. No, it didn't. 3 days after I told Brad I discovered he had been cheating on me for a month, I ended things with him and never looked back. When Sabs was born, I was fully occupied with being a mom. Then I was busy building my business. By the time I could even consider dating again, I realized I had this. I understand, I said. I feel the same way about Toby. As long as I have her, she comes first. I can't stress enough how important she is. She is the one who has kept me sane for the last 18 months. Julie put her little hand on my arm. I know, she said gently. She shares everything with Sabs and me. I'm so sorry, Ollie. Yes, sometimes life can be hard, we both said. Glancing up, we noticed 2 pairs of loving eyes focused on us. I love your daughter. I confess it feels like she's almost a part of me with all the time she spends with us. She loves you too, Julie replied. The other day she told me you're like a father she's never had one. Her eyes welled up and a tear rolled down her cheek. I gently wiped it away with my finger. Sheck, an amazing girl, I remarked. Her mom must be something to have raised her. Julie smiled through her teary eyes, stood up, kissed me on the cheek and went to join the girls. We had an incredible weekend. As Julie was leaving, I approached her car and tapped on the window. Jules, would you consider going out with me next Friday? I asked. Sabrina squealed with excitement and Julie flashed a smile. What time? How about 6 o'clock? I suggested. We grab dinner and do something afterward. Sounds good. Oh, and could Toby hang out with Sabs while we are out? Sounds perfect. And of course she agreed, kissed me on the cheek before I drove off. Toby was waiting for me at the door. Well, she inquired eagerly, did you ask her out? Did you kiss her? I hugged her and playfully slapped her bottom. Yes, I did. And that's for me. I knew it. She's perfect for you, Dad. I adore her and Sabs is like a sister to me. I shrugged. Whatever happens, happens, Toby. You can't force it. Stop trying to play matchmaker. She nuzzled into my chest. I know, Dad, but if I hadn't pushed things along, you probably wouldn't have made a move. Not that I mind being the only woman in your life. I chuckled. Well, you'll always have a special place in my heart that no one else can touch. You're my baby. And that's never going to change. She purred contentedly for a moment, then went off to do her own thing. Our first date went smoothly. I took her to play racquetball. She was new to the game but had played tennis before. She quickly caught onto the similar strokes. Once she got the hang of the rules and bouncing the ball off the walls, she was impressive. her natural athleticism definitely gave her an edge. She was lightning fast and could change direction with ease thanks to her petite frame. After we finished our game, we cooled off at a table outside the courts, sipping drinks and resting. She grabbed her phone, had the kids take pictures, she suggested we pose with our rackets and goggles, and she took a snap. They replied, immediately, and we captured a picture of the two of us. Immediately, and we captured a great memory. Later we both showered and then I took her out to dinner. We indulged in some delicious Italian food. Our appetites were completely satisfied as we finished our wine. Jules sat next to me in the booth and we leaned back chatting quietly and relaxing. It felt natural for me to put my arm around her, so I did. She leaned closer to me, flashing a warm smile. I couldn't help but think about how adorable she was, and I realized that her cuteness would continue as she got older. It was something that would stay with her. When we arrived at her house, she leaned in close. Her eyes showed anticipation. I could sense she wanted me to kiss her, so I leaned in and did just that. Truth to tell, I wanted to kiss her even more than she wanted me to. It was a lingering and delightful kiss. Her lips felt plush and soft and she tasted like a mixture of wine and cherry chapstick. As we pulled back I noticed movement behind the curtains. Looks like we have an audience, I remarked. She giggled, sounding like she was laughing. She giggled, sounding a lot like her daughter. I'm not surprised, you know they're trying to set us up, don't you? Does that bother you? I inquired. She blushed. No, I like everything I've learned about you, Ollie. Same here, I replied. We should go in before they open the curtains and see us. For 4 months we went out every Friday, and with each outing we grew closer. I wanted to take our relationship to the next level, but I didn't want to rush her. Our conversations heated up towards the end, hinting at something more than friendship. We were in constant communication, exchanging texts, snaps, and phone calls throughout the day. Whenever I came across something funny or interesting, I immediately thought of JWES and felt compelled to share it with her. Our bond deepened, and we became privy to each other's lives. We started a weekly tradition of having dinner together every Tuesday, and it became a cherished routine. We hung out, played games, and I found myself growing to love Sabs almost as much as I loved her mother. They had many similarities, which made it easy to know one if you knew the other. Though they had their differences, they were equally charming, and those differences only accentuated their similarities. Life was good overall, but the lingering presence of Rachel remained. A lingering annoyance. She was still a part of Toby's life, which meant she was inevitably a part of mine. I wanted nothing to do with her, and her presence always managed to irritate me. Every time she came to pick up Toby or I dropped her off at her grandparents', she would try to strike up a conversation. She still lived with them, had lost her job at the clinic along with Jerry, and now worked at another clinic across town. When Rachel got on my nerves too much, I would casually bring up Jerry to shut her up. I'm sorry, Oliver, I was wrong. I'm sorry I tried to make Toby think you were a liar. I'm sorry I tried to steal her away from you. I tried to screw you over in the divorce, and worst of all, I never heard. I'm sorry I cheated and slept with that scumbag behind your back. I still haven't heard. Then she refused to take responsibility for her actions. I wasn't sure what forgiving her would even mean. I made peace with the situation and moved on. I didn't forget, but I wasn't going to waste time being bitter about it. People do stupid things. They have the right to leave you, divorce you, or end friendships, and you have to accept it and move on. In the heat of the moment, I wanted to punish both cheaters, but I soon realized that their punishment was to be themselves. They had to live with their actions. I wanted to live with myself, which meant putting the lies and betrayal behind me and focusing on living my best life. And I had no ill will toward Jerry, but I wasn't going to be the one to seek revenge. Let God or the universe take care of it. I was done playing that game. She became even more unhappy when she found out I was dating Jules. One night, as I was dropping Toby off at her grandparents' house, Rachel approached me. Toby's friend, she said. I just stared at her. Is that true? She pressed. That's my business. I replied. The hell it is. She snapped back. I'm your spouse. I deserve to be informed. You have nothing. I replied. You're no longer my spouse. You found your true love and it wasn't me. Remember, we got divorced. My affairs are no longer your business and yours are none of mine. Back off. I was furious when I left the man. She just wouldn't let it go. I vented to Toby about what was going on and she was just as angry as I was. After that I stopped dropping Toby off at her grandparents' house or Rachel picking her up from our house. Instead Bob or Cindy, her grandparents. On the 7th-month anniversary of our lake trip I took Jules out. We went to a nice restaurant and then to a club. Jules didn't drink much, just a beer or cocktail occasionally, but that night she had two. I raised an eyebrow when she ordered the second one. She giggled. Yeah, I'm feeling wild and crazy tonight, huh? You're perfect, just like always, I reassured her. Do you really think so, Ollie? She tilted her head to the side, a gesture she often made. Because I think you're pretty perfect too. If I'm so perfect, why didn't you ask me to stay over? I must have looked surprised because she laughed. I regained my composure. Yeah, Jules, I've thought about little else since that first day on the boat when I saw you in that bikini. When we started dating, I realized you were something different, something special, and I didn't want to pressure you or scare you off. Why are we still here? I asked. Oh my God, Jules, let's get out of here. Do you want to spend the night with me more than anything else in the world right now? She practically melted into me as we walked out, leaning her head on my shoulder and gripping my arm all the way home. I escorted her to the bedroom after we pulled into the garage, and she stayed close to me. I kissed her. It was one of the most amazing kisses I had ever experienced, and it seemed to go on forever. When we paused to catch our breath, she looked up at me and I found myself lost in the warm brown depths of her eyes. She wrapped her arms around my neck and met my gaze. Make love to me, Oliver, she whispered. I'm kind of scared. Don't be, I reassured her. I love you, Julie Barnes, you know that, right? I thought so, she murmured, but I needed to hear it. I love you, too, Oliver. I positioned myself on top of her, being careful not to put too much weight on her. How many times have you done this? I whispered into her ear. We fell asleep in each other's arms, and twice during the night we made love again, once when I initiated it and once when she did. The next morning I woke up lying on my back with her half on top of me, her hair covering us and her cheek resting on my shoulder. I feel like I belong here, Oli. I know, I said. Would you like to wake up here every morning? She opened her eyes and looked at me. You mean like living together? No, darling. Well, yes, but I mean, will you marry me, Julie Barnes? She brought her small left hand up between our faces and wiggled her fingers. She said. Something seems to be missing. Hold, I said. I started to get out of bed. That thought, I said, and started to get out of bed. I'll hold the thought, she said, but I can't hold anything else. I have to pee so badly. I chuckled and playfully slapped her, but making her squeal. Go then, meet me back here. She dashed off like a little naked sprite, and I went down to my office, making a pit stop myself. I got what I needed from my safe, and when I returned she was curled up under the covers. I climbed in and took her left hand again, looking into her eyes. Julie, will you marry me? I slipped the ring onto her finger. It was too big, so we'll have to resize it, but it'll do for now. She examined it closely. It's beautiful, she said. It looks old. Where did you get it? When did you get it? Remember when I mentioned going to an auction? I said it was about a month ago. Yes, I remember. Wasn't it an estate auction? Yep. What I didn't tell you was I saw this ring in the catalog and I bought it. I saw this ring in the catalog and I went with the intention of buying it and asking you to marry me. It was made in England around 1810 for the Duchess of Avon. It has quite a history. Do you like it? I love it, she said. It was the most beautiful ring I've ever seen. Are you going to answer my question? I asked. What? Oh yes, Oliver, yes, I will marry you. Oh my God, yes. I laughed and hugged my fiancé tightly. We have to get the girl, she said.